This is the AI Assisted Organization podcast hosted by myself, Piers and my co-host and co-founder of Implement AI, Dr. Aalok Shukla. Been a while, Aalok.
Hey, Piers. Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, all good.
So we thought we'd. This is actually we were quite surprised looking at it
Episode
a couple of
50.
weeks ago. This is episode 50 of the AI Assisted Organization podcast. I like to think we're sort of the number one podcast in AI for business. You don't get lost in the noise. What we thought we'd do is in this one, we'll think of changing the format because there's lots of news out there. We can go through the news and highlight it. And there's always going to be bits of news that we're going to pull out. We thought that we'd probably change the format slightly, and we'll go through that at the end in terms of what we're thinking of doing. But we've learned a huge amount over the last 18 months about how SMEs implement AI, right? As a clue, the name of our business. And we've got to the point now where actually we think we can really help businesses. You can see we've been very, very busy. We want to scale. So we're now sort of battening down the hatches, preparing to scale. So we're actually going to go out and raise external finance for the business now because we think that we can create a whole new IT services sector with our managed agents. But we thought that today what we'd do is take you on the journey. So we've learned a huge amount along the way, and often we kind of drop in and have these little sort of snippets of insight. And we're also going to do the AI Insider again, but probably every 2 weeks when we do the podcast. We wanted to share it with you, so you learn from us, and and what we may do is come back to some of these points if you think they're interesting, and do give us feedback to use them as a basis for future podcasts. And in the future, we may get people we work with, from the likes of Microsoft or Nvidia, some of our other partners, to come on the pod actually and tell us a bit about their technology and the way things are going. So let's get started. We'll try and keep this off the usual 30, 35 minutes. There's a lot to get through. So Aalok, right, I'm kind of going to interview you. So we started about 18 months ago. We thought we need to get into AI. There's a big opportunity. What do we do? Didn't really have a clear idea how to enter the market at first, did we? So we kind of entered really imparting our knowledge and learning ourselves and sharing that by doing kind of products class consulting, really. And it kind of moved on from there.
Yeah, exactly. So if you think about right at the beginning, we started off doing some events for AI for business, helping different business owners understand two things. One, what is the full scope of what you can do? Because even last year in May, when we did our first event, we were talking about, automation, like RPA, robotic process automation, along with AI, and mixing that and how you can create, very interesting solutions. And there, it was really helping business owners feel the impact by seeing different tools, by seeing different solutions, by understanding exactly like how things can be done much faster. And then from that led into different engagements where we worked with different business owners ranging from finance to healthcare to clinics to recruitment to many different sectors. And with them, we started working out like particular pain points and understanding a lot more of the inside. So I think over the last time, during that time, we saw a lot of friction points where there was kind of common things, which would be like either challenges with business development, or challenges with supervising team and onboarding team and getting things done quicker, basically. But from those different areas, we started picking off different use cases and going deeper into them. But I mean, at the very beginning, it was getting the business owners and the leadership aligned, and understanding what the possibilities were. And then that expanded into even like boardroom briefings with other companies where they've like, okay, we need to, approach AI. How do we do this? Everybody's got different levels of knowledge within the organization. One person in the C-suite might have a particular agenda or a vision, and the other ones don't have that maybe, or they're worried about budget. So we did quite a few boardroom briefings, getting all the senior leadership of different organizations aligned, see the opportunities, see the possibilities, because I think this is my key takeaway point number one. You need to know for your business where your opportunities are and where the AI technology is mature, because that's going to be your path going forward to like where you...
I do one before that. So I do one before that is that you need to level up decision makers, or at least the senior leadership, and if it's your smaller company, your board, your senior leadership, and maybe we always say set up a working group for AI, and they need to be leveled up and have a common understanding, or at least a similar level of understanding of the technology, how it works, what it can do today, what it's probably going to be able to do in the future, examples, case studies, and where it's going. Because otherwise, you can't have a sensible conversation. There's too much jargon and noise. So I think, personally, I think that's number one. And then you're right. I think the next one then is to carry on from there.
No, I agree with you. Like, I think so. One of the common things we found is that many business owners, there'll be like an advocate, first of all. There'll be someone who engages with us from an organization who's got more passion or more understanding or more insight into AI, but then the rest of the business don't understand it or don't want to go ahead with it. So absolutely getting everybody aligned, first of all, is absolutely critical, because you cannot create any kind of strategic plan without everyone have a common understanding of the opportunities for everybody. And then the
And
second,
we did, just to point again, so we did these boardroom briefings, weren't they, which were
yeah,
like almost like an AI masterclass
we
in
still
about an
do
hour and a
them.
half. Yeah, and we
Exactly.
still
Yeah.
do them. But people were often, it's funny how it started off being, what is AI? How does it work? And, is it going to take over the world? And it's kind of now, we'll come on to it later. You kind of get to the point now of, lovely to meet you guys. How can it help me do this? It's
Correct.
completely changed the
Yeah,
conversation.
Zoom did a lot more, so we can go into a bit more detail afterwards on that stuff. But I agree with you. Like, I think the alignment of the team is so important, because it's not just about the technology; it's the psychology, basically, right? Like, and if people are scared about their roles or they don't have a clear vision of where things are going to go to, that's when they might try and block things, basically, right? And we've seen that in different situations. So I think like having that working group, having that advocate, and then having the ability to have that sensible conversation internally about where your opportunities are coming is definitely important. And I think coming into the opportunities bit, all businesses kind of have like two types of opportunity. They could either basically optimize what's going on with existing operations, do things more efficiently, like rely less on the team, and also make sure they can kind of do things in a productive way. And there's also like the innovation opportunity, which is basically how can I do things which were not done before, which can unlock competitive advantage in the marketplace, basically, right? Like, and we've seen and worked on different solutions for different people, but I think people need to like understand that you have two opportunities available to you right now, which were not available before. Because like if you think about the default mode of business is you're on a treadmill and it's getting steeper. The incline is going up year after year. Like that's the default mode right now, basically, right? And if you don't do anything to change that, it's just going to get more expensive and more costly. And I think understanding how AI can actually make things more affordable, more accessible, and help you even break from the pack, essentially, in a competitive advantage, that's really important to understand that as well,
And
basically.
and just on that, so what we found, we were talking to lots of companies, doing lots of events, and we're sending out quite a few proposals, talking to people. What we realized is that going back to you've got kind of, we call it kind of optimize, and then you've got kind of innovate. So optimize is kind of do what you do better, operations, systems, processes, workflows, and then innovate often is where the issue is, because, and even in optimize, a lot of SMEs, you know an innovation project might have been installing a CRM. It might have
Yeah.
been building a website, or improving your e-commerce platform, or SEO. There wasn't really naturally an innovation culture, budget, resource, project manager. It just wasn't there. So when you say, do you want to innovate and start implementing this new technology throughout your business, it was quite difficult in many cases for a lot of people we were talking to actually just grasp the concept of applying resource to do that. And therefore people started saying to us, well, that's really interesting, I get it, but can you show us, what about an
Exactly.
MVP or pilot?
Exactly. And I think that's the key thing. Like, I think what people need to understand is that like the boundaries that were set around their sector and their organization, that like, okay, your payroll is 20%, your cost of goods sold is 40%, your this is this, and your final EBITDA margin is 10%, and everyone's like that. And someone might be 12%, someone might be this. That's not now up for grabs, basically, because now you can actually reorganize and restructure your business in completely different ways. So first of all, understanding that you have the power and capability to do that, and then it's thinking about, okay, if we can do that, where do we go? Because you can either react to the market where other people start doing this and start offering solutions which you couldn't offer before, basically, or you can adapt to it. I'm gonna give an example. Yesterday, I was talking with a different business owner. We built a proof of concept for them where it's basically they want to be able to help, I'll say like a particular client base, and give information to them about how to do things. And I set up an AI agent for them, which explains everything in a really engaging way, really straightforward. And he was like, wow, this is like amazing. We can reach much more people with this. We can unlock different things. So, understanding that like you now have a creative opportunity in business. Didn't exist before, and it probably won't exist later on once the market becomes saturated again. So it's just understanding there's an opportunity for you to seize as well. So I think that's important to
But the
understand.
point is, so one is people, organizations have to think about innovating, whether it's what you do already, or thinking
Or
about
you'll become
doing things
obsolete.
in different ways, or engaging customers in new ways. So you have to think about that you do need to apply some resource. So the secret is, and we've got our own framework, the AI assisted organization framework, is that you can't boil the ocean. So a lot of companies have come to us and said, right, we want to AIify the whole business. And we're kind of like, No, that's going to end in failure, like most IT projects. What you have to do is, like you were just saying there, actually, is look at the opportunities, and then once you all have that kind of basic understanding, is then how you use pilots and MVPs, start to understand, okay, how do I change this workflow, this process, this repetitive task? How do I use data in new and innovative ways so I can gain more insight? And then you pick off these workflows, processes, these opportunity zones, as you call them, one by one.
Exactly. So why don't we just like talk a little bit about that, right? So if you think about this, the two dimensions that kind of most businesses that we spoke with came down to was like one dimension was I need to increase new business. So I need to be able to engage more customers, convert more from my existing marketing, my conversion was going down, different things like this. So I need to grow sales, like either cross sales, whatever. So that's one dimension. The other dimension was like, okay, I've got my team working, but there's lots of leaks and things are costing more than it used to before. How can I make that work really efficiently? And how can I help team members or even new team members get things done better? So how can I augment my existing team and support them to make things, in a very scalable, cost-effective way going with that? So they're the two main dimensions, which was like either doing existing things better and supporting team members to do it really quickly by rapid training and different things using AI, or growing business revenue and going through things. And we still talk about that even now. Whenever we engage with a new client, we're always starting to break down like, okay, what are your growth opportunities? What are the different leaks and what are the different opportunities to kind of like save cost as well? Because they're the dimensions. And if you start actually then taking off some of those blocks and you think, okay, if we did this, how much could I grow? If we did this, how much cost could I save? It can become quite significant, right? So as a strategic planning exercise, you need to know, okay, if you're choosing to stay here, what are you giving up? It's like, isn't it? Like, like if you're not making a change, you're basically saying, I'm not going to go for the better version, the 2.0 version of my business, and I'm going to wait for competitors to do that, basically. But I think
Well, what we
businesses,
always say, and you hear this a lot, and we say it a lot, because it's absolutely true. So AI is not what's going to disrupt your business or take your job. It's somebody using it. And we always say, another thing we always say, AI today is the worst it's ever going to be.
yeah,
And the point is that as the technology starts to evolve, listen, we do this podcast, we spend our days literally, especially Aalok, in the depths of AI and how we use this. And it's tiring. There's just so much going on. So if you're a business trying to keep up with this, if you're not kind of already on the pitch, as I call it, kicking the ball around, as it really does start to take off, it's going to be very, very hard to catch up. So the key really is to start, but start small.
yeah, agree. And I've got one point here because one common thing I always heard from people is like, oh, maybe I'll wait till later on and I'll get started then. What you have to understand is like, if I make things really, really simple, you want to introduce an AI workforce within your business, right? And that needs to connect to some of your data and some workflows and things like this. Now, the way you kind of put these things in place is as the technology improves, your workforce can become more and more capable. But if you haven't got anything in place already, then your team are not aligned, your process is not aligned. You're going to find it very difficult to start. And what's going to happen is it's almost like everyone else has like a kind of a wooden go-kart, and then you're installing like an engine, and then you're upgrading the engine over time and the chassis and stuff like this. So you need to get started with it because there is some actually organizational adaptation that needs to happen from the leadership, setting a new vision, there's a lot to do basically, right? And I think you want to get started and you'll actually lose out by not getting started because you'll lose out on all the internal learnings from your kind of like specialist implementation. Because what we're talking about here is not just using a bit of GPT in here and there. We're talking about actual systems and agents within your business which are actually doing work, right? We're not just talking about little
And
tools.
also, it blows our minds. But often, we're kind of developing a pilot or we're developing our platform, and we'll come back and say, look at what this AI agent did for this customer.
I can give an example.
It blows my mind.
I had a call someone on Friday, like, and I was demonstrating the support agent which we've got, which can you chat to on a website and answer different questions. They were asking me, can it speak African languages? And I was like, okay, can you? And it was like, yes, I can speak Igbo, I can speak Zulu, I can speak this, I can speak that. And I was like, okay, give me some Afrikaans. And it was saying Afrikaans, some Afrikaans stuff like that. So then and the guy was like, okay, that's really cool because we've got some customers based in like in Africa, which this could be useful for. I said, like, look, English is the main one, but it can do all these other things. So literally the capabilities are exceeding our imagination in many situations, basically,
So what happened there was for us then, carrying on the kind of journey, was that we then looked at clients and customers and thought, okay, this is great, but how do you scale delivery of this, right? So doing business analysis and pilots and
Training and
MVPs,
training sessions.
training. We've got a training academy as well. Great, it's all necessary, but how do you scale it? So and the market, people say, AI agents, go and download Peter and you'll do your accounts, right? It's utter nonsense. It's overselling. The technology is not there yet. So we looked at, if you deploy, so we looked at AI agents, so we looked at automations, then we looked at AI agents, and we looked at them and thought, as Alok, as you always say, an agent's like a human worker, just as a virtual worker. You have
Operating
to
system.
onboard it, train it, hire it actually, train it, onboard it, teach it your tone of voice, policies, governance, customers, product, just like a person. So not only have you got that sort of dimension, the other one is the technology is changing, evolving all the time. So you've got an employee you need to onboard, and then literally as you onboard them, their capability begins to grow exponentially, a lot faster than a human. So how do you manage that? So that's where we started to develop the concept of managed agents.
Exactly. Like I think like at least 10 or 12 events that I was speaking at, we were speaking at together, and I kept saying you need to have an AI operating system. You need to have like essentially a layer which is like an AI workforce. We've always got this slide which shows like human only task, AI assisted task, AI driven task, basically, right? And I always was saying to people like you need to have an AI operating system, and then I just was kept thinking about it, and like even listening to the feedback from Training Academy, there's some teams which are very engaged and they want to do stuff. And then you've got some teams who are only there because the boss bought it, basically, right? And they're not really engaging with that system. And I started thinking about it more and more, and like thinking like, people don't really want to learn about AI. They just want the AI to work for them, basically, right? They just want it to be done. So that's where we were thinking, okay, if people need an AI operating system, how can we give it to them? How can they have a team of agents that would actually be able to like do that and be that new workforce they can kind of plug into? So that's where that kind of
Let's just before we move on there, let's explain AI OS. So AI operating system is not just thinking about AI, eventually just automating this task or that task. It's starting to thinking of it as actually you build your entire operations
AI first.
around AI. Yes, it's AI first. So the goal we have is like a pentagram of all the different operational areas of a business, and you're trying to move to the middle. In the middle is full autonomy, right? So you don't need to do anything. Now we're a long way from that, but what you're trying to do is trying to work your way in wherever you can and wherever it makes sense. And the other point we haven't really touched upon is that everything we've done and we do is really augmenting humans. So we have interactive agents that work with humans in the loop, as I call it, and we have embedded agents, and they're more like, and we've got some great examples of that, crunching data in the background where humans don't need to get involved. In fact, it's doing things that humans can't do. Even things like listening to recorded phone calls, humans just can't do it at that scale. So the idea there is your AIOS is your differentiator. So imagine in M&A, we've got some clients, customers to do M&A. So they build an AIOS, they acquire a target company, they install essentially that AIOS into that target business, and they boost the revenues, optimize or reduce the costs, more
Exactly.
revenue, more profit, and it's a better deal.
I'll give an example. Like there's one business which is like they manufacture appliances for medical sector, for example, right? Like and they acquire different businesses, and every single one that they acquire has like, let's just say 4 people working in one role doing this, and another 3 people in another role doing this and doing that. And then they've also got like a certain amount of like business development. No one's doing those things. Well, if they plug in and they have the agent which is doing the business development, they've got an agent for like support for initially, then the team members that are there can do higher quality support and more engagement, offer a superior service to people, but then their costs are actually lower and they can service more people. So absolutely having that AI operating system is important, and it's understanding which agents can there be. So kind of like evolving on this journey, as we talked about, is like, okay, where can agents help me grow revenue? And we found that reactivation campaigns was a really common and popular one. And then where can agents help me, streamline cost? We found that agents to help training and quality assure services was really popular as well, basically, right? So I think like understanding those 2 different dimensions can help you understand what can be done. But we've seen some great examples of like reactivation campaigns where, the AI is calling people on evening or weekend, or it's reaching out to businesses during the day, and it gets the contact details of the person, or it is able to like get the information that they haven't got planning permission yet for their new roof, and they're interested in going something. Like the sophistication of these
So let's
conversations.
just touch on that then. So voice, right? So one of our, we're not a huge company yet, but centers of excellence, let's call it, in the kind of IT sector parlance, is voice. So I thought voice initially, you kind of seen a lot of this in the call center sector as well. I did a post on LinkedIn about 6 months ago saying call centers are going away, because they are, at least the sort of first line. of a generic call or triage. It is literally going away. It's going to go into the cloud. And I thought it was going to be inbound, dealing with inbound support, basic support. And what's been fascinating, isn't it, is seeing the outbound capability of these agents.
Outbound is amazing because outbound you can reach out to anyone, engage in different things, and you can get so much information. We've done outbound campaigns in the USA, in Ireland, and UK, and we've got different voices, whether it's an English voice, Irish voice, or American voice, and everyone like in those situations they are talking to an agent who's a member of the team. And they get all the information they need to, and the conversations are fascinating, and the insights you get, because like one of the other big ideas is like if you're trying to get information from a customer, you can ask them to fill out a form, and you'll get 3 lines if you're lucky. Or you can have a conversation with them and you'll get a load of context and insight that you couldn't have got otherwise, which would make your team members much better to be able to solve their problems or, convert with them. So, if you look at the 100-meter sprint, right, people win by fractions of a second, essentially. In business, it's super competitive. So if you can have a lot more data than everybody else, because you've got all the conversations coming into your AI, and your AI can also like leverage that insights to be able to say, these people are warmer, these people are colder, and you've got different ways to follow up, you're going to have more advantages. So that AI first opportunity that we talked about, and being an AI operating system, means you can absorb a whole load more data, which means that you can then take better decisions and act more precisely than your competition, which are guessing, basically.
So all this work we've been doing really has been pilots, projects, been kind of learning, MVPs, and then what happened is that obviously a lot of our customers said to us, well, the pilot, as we're just giving some examples there, the pilots had amazing results. So can we have it? So we started out, helping companies understand AI and then proving its value. And then you get to the point where you've proved the value. So why wouldn't they want it? So we got into quite a lot of conversations about, okay, what is our product or service? How can you scale it? And how can you scale it with our customers as well? So we've had insights from across, it must be a couple of hundred, isn't it? Businesses now, of what agents are probably going to add the most value in the kind of short term, and over the long term, we're going to add more agents. I think what was a really interesting insight as well was that we were saying to people, well, you can have one agent, and kind of, well, that agent, let's say a call agent, for example, will burn through all the data we've got in a weekend. Where you month, we're kind of, okay, so are they then going to pay for the agent if it's going to burn through data? They use it once a month. So then what happened was, they said, well, could we use that agent or that agent? And where we've kind of got to, isn't it, currently at least, is that we want to create a platform of virtual workers. I think the mantra is, grow your workforce, not your payroll. We provide a platform of virtual workers, AI agents. We deploy them, manage them, look after them, and support them for you. We become almost like your AI outsource IT and HR department. So that's where the managed agent platform has come from.
Exactly, and that's what we've got. So we've got like 7 agents, for example, that do a variety of different tasks, right? And I can go through them. So from outbound calls, where we just talked about reactivation campaigns, or product announcements, or upsells or cross sells. Then we've got inbound calls. So we got like, it can do customer support, answer questions, schedule appointments. It can even do the nice things like ask them questions, send them a personalized PDF report, and give them details and stuff like that kind of within there. We've done examples and proof concepts within medical applications, as well as like, a normal, like any kind of like B2B prospecting. Then we've got messaging agents, which can have like intelligent two-way message conversations with customers. So that can help you like, respond to somebody who's just opted in from a website, get more information, go through details, or at the same time provide assistance. Anyone can just ask a question straight away by message and then get the answers straight back to you. Then we've got call analyst ones, which will listen to all the calls of all your businesses and all your team members, and spot missed sales opportunities, potential complaints, and also quantify if you like, this is, you had £5,000 worth of sales which were missed yesterday. This is what these are the people you need to follow up with, and this is what their objections were. So you've got all those levels of insights. And then we've got, other ones which will be like, for example, knowledge bases. This is really popular, where people want to be able to like understand, okay, I've got team members and they've got questions. So I'll give an example. I was talking to a different business, and they had a £12,000 expense because someone didn't know the right answer. Basically, they're a logistics company, and that a truck had broken down in Spain, and the person who was on the phone answering it didn't know that this particular piece that had broken down had a warranty, and it was a supplier that could have done it. So they ended up spending 12 grand because they didn't have an answer straight away, basically. So, the impact of being able to access your own internal business knowledge base.
But that's where, so they're not quite agentic teams, agents working in a team. It's more like, at that point, layers, isn't it? It's kind of like, right, you've got a knowledge base. You're then going to have an agent on top that can access the knowledge base in different ways. It might be a chatbot,
Or your human.
yeah, exactly that, or your humans can. And then what then happens is, so that empower, and then what we added then, which was memory. So that makes a
Exactly.
massive difference as well.
Exactly. So then what happens is like any past conversation they can remember if you just called back again and just mentioned something, they know exactly the full context of what happened previously. And then we've got other agents as well, which are like almost like live real time. So you could be having a call with a customer, and based on what the customer is saying, it'll show you what they're interested in and also what products or services that person could buy and all the features of that product service. So for example, there's one company we were discussing with where they manufacture many, many different pieces of equipment. And there's like 50 medical pieces of equipment with very detailed specifications. I mean, you could get a smart student, but they wouldn't be able to memorize those 50 pieces of equipment. And that's just one segment. There's like so many segments. Now they can just ask questions and it will show them. It also has LED, it has this, it has that, and it also shows suggested questions. So this is like ways. So some of the agents are a bit like giving your team members ways to like turn left, turn right, go here, go there, that kind of stuff. So this is the kind of stuff which can really make the difference in getting new people on board quicker and also making sure a more consistent experience.
Yeah, and then just so that, as we said, that's kind of augmenting humans, right? So so a couple of things. One is you want to empower your human workforce, if we can call it that, and you don't want them to be doing repetitive tasks or hunting around for information that you know is there, or sifting through long lists in FAQs. It's just a waste of time. So you can save time. They can do more value added tasks. I always say you've got that pyramid of value. It's been filled with technology. So we've got to kind of all of us move to top and add more value to the organization, to customers, and to their careers. Because in the not too distant future, you're not going to hire anyone that's any good unless you've automated all the mundane and repetitive stuff
Yeah.
that they normally used to do and hate doing.
No, absolutely. And there's so many things that like for example, like I was talking with the business last week and then they were talking about like how procurement, so ordering, for example, is very important. And I was showing them how an agent can be set up to monitor the prices of their suppliers and for example, like update them when there's like something which is cheaper or better. So it's about like once you've got this kind of AI first mindset and you think, okay, what system can I have or what agent could I have, which is like going to basically help drive the work or make things happen in a more predictable way, so the team are supported by it basically rather than having to initiate everything. I think that's what's going to make the difference essentially, isn't it? So like so
But
yeah,
to
so
touch, okay, that's like interactive agents, as we call them, humans in the loop. But to touch on some of the examples of what embedded agents have done, which again, this is that idea we have in our presentations of you've got this kind of darkened room with a few glimmers of light. Then you turn on your night vision, spectral vision, whatever you've got, and you can see everything. And because you can see stuff people can't, you can react to it in ways that they can't, and that's competitive advantage. So the embedded agents, the real data analysis agents, they've changed the game for some customers in terms of literally almost £10 million of revenue.
yeah, so for example, like what some examples have been within like a healthcare sector where it was like analyzing all the kind of like prescriptions, understanding insights, and then from that being able to actually help them target the right people with the right message at the right time, which can unlock whole new services and whole new revenue opportunities. Then we got other ones which will be listening to all the phone calls that we talked about and spot missed opportunities. Like this person wanted to buy this £15,000 service, and they didn't book in, and they actually said they were confused, so they know that someone can follow up with that person and be able to like help them in a much more beneficial way. But there's so many opportunities once you've got like your data stream inbound and AI monitoring it basically, right? And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? Right? Like having
And I
the
think
ability.
one of the key learnings is, isn't it, where you mentioned it there actually, is you might have recorded calls, you might have an agent that can listen to those calls and analyze them for sentiment, missed opportunities, or even training opportunities. But then what? Then you might find a sales opportunity. Then you want to go back to that customer pretty quickly or prospect with a sales script, either with a call agent immediately or a
Or a
human,
messaging agent.
get or message agent, exactly, on WhatsApp, for example, or text, or human gets a script and some information and makes a phone call. So
Exactly.
you start kind of linking them together. But the point is with AI agents and AI generally is, I always say you don't want an agent that can take your coffee order, get out of the office, down the elevator, out into the street, find the coffee shop, make the order, but then can't get back. And you've got to go and send a human to fetch them. What we try and do is create workflows where for as long as possible, there is no human in the loop, essentially, because that creates more value.
Yeah, agree. And what I've been finding really interesting is like how you can chain different agents together. So, for example, I was working with somebody. for one particular agent, which actually generates an image. Like I can't go into more detail than that, but like a custom image based on a particular scenario. And the way that agent was configured was they would answer some questions and go through different things. Now for their website, they're going to have an interactive agent which you can talk to. And I was saying that like we could actually link those two things together, so they could actually talk, have the conversation, and then they would get that personalized image and everything like that afterwards, basically, right? Like you can create much more powerful and engaging, experiences by linking and chaining agents together. And then again, all that data comes within your system. And so you just imagine, like you've got a customer and you want to get a photo of their place or like a thing they were looking to do or something like this. They can send that message to you. You can analyze that. You can then come back with personalized instructions, or you can send them, different details and different things. Even in content creation, like for example, like with somebody else, they were looking at like how to leverage the content that they've got. So we helped put together a knowledge base for that one. And at the same time, I was showing them how we could create personalized podcasts. So actually, rather than creating an article, which it did, it also created a podcast in their voice for that thing, which they could use in different ways to build those relationships. Because I was listening to a very interesting thing yesterday, actually. I was reading this. Do you know that your brain is much more activated from voice and audio than reading alone? If you look at how much of the brain is activated from reading content and how much of the brain is activated from actually listening to it, there's a lot more. So I think there's a lot more to be gained from voice, because there's the emotional connection, there's the linking and stuff like this. So again, the more interactive your experience can be and the more data you can capture back from your customers, you're just going to be in a better place.
But our agents, so different to our agencies, a lot of SaaS companies, let's face it, you even saw like, Salesforce and Agentforce, right? They're trying to add AI, and it's quite expensive. It's kind of trying to protect their core business, which is still software as a service. So the point is this: think of software as a service and all the applications you have in your business, and why do you pay per seat? I'll let you think about that. And the answer is, if you haven't got it yet, is because a human has to operate it.
Exactly.
So every single SaaS per seat payment you're making is because a human is pressing a button, pulling a lever, transposing data, looking at data, reading data. And what you're going to see increasingly is a layer above that of AI agents that can interact with the software as a service. Either they built their own, or it's an agent like,
or they just do the task directly. Exactly.
or they do the exactly. I'll come on to that. You're jumping ahead. So eventually, the agents can just do the task, the underlying task. So you won't need the SaaS. So it'll kind of almost they'll work together for a period of time, but eventually you'll just say to the agent, go and do this. Go and create me a nurturing campaign using this data and those customers over there. And I want you to create an image that conveys this. Send me a draft. Let me have a look at it, and then just get on with it. Boom, does it. You don't need.
I'll give an example. There's one client. They've got like 30,000 people that were messaged basically by a messaging agent. It's a lot. And so like they then downloaded the list of all the people that had messaged, and they were trying to filter it based on interest. But actually, you can't do that because it said it ran out of memory on the computer, basically. But what we've done is like we've connected actually one of the AI agents in the knowledge base to it, where you can actually just ask questions, say, show me the people that were the most interested over the last month, basically, right? Like, and the AI can actually look up those people and then have those details like that. So, like I say, you're starting to kind of like iterate, but as before, you need to have an Excel, download it, do a filter, do this, do that, then upload it somewhere else. The possibilities of what you can do are just expanding, and the ease you can do it is increasing.
Let's just carry on with that thought. The last sort of few minutes of this podcast, we'll have to keep this short for you. Everyone's busy. So let's look at the future. So now we're building an AI agent platform, managed agent. So it's not just fire and forget. We look after it for you, right? So you don't have to. You get on with the business of running your business. We look after the agents, and we work with you to make sure that happens. And they evolve over time with our sort of input and support. So you've got, and then eventually you'll have agents. You talked about strings and teams of agents. Then they'll become more collaborative and more capable of working together. You've seen that already in some of the models. Yep. And then you move into, which we won't touch on too much today, kind of embodied AI and robots. But where do you think obviously we're kind of raising finance now, we want to scale. Where do you think we'll be? I know this is really hard to do in an exponential world because you're all thinking in a linear fashion. Where do you think we'll be in a year?
I mean, I guess what I'm looking at is like how many agents are working per day in how many businesses, basically, right? Like that's the way I look at it. It's like the more agents that are working and helping create value, that's really cool. And so for me, like if in a year we can be in a lot more, businesses across different countries, different sectors, and then at the same time helping those kind of like thrive and grow much more, be much better. We've got like different categories of agents we've not even introduced yet. Our document agents or our media agents, they'll be added to the platform over time as well. So I really feel that like rather than a business having the choice of like, okay, I could go on a load of courses and train my team and then hope they do the task, or I could actually have a team of agents that will just do the task and will answer to me or the senior leadership team in the way we want it, and then they'll get things done. So yeah, I'm optimistic. I think there's some really exciting possibilities ahead, especially as well, because I'm just talking about the capabilities of the AI right now. The AI models are
Exactly.
also the AI models are getting more powerful all the time. You know, like so they'll
Video, and although we
control
tend
the
to,
screen, control
yeah,
mouse, do all different stuff like that. You know, like
yeah, yeah, and we focused on AI for business rather than all the consumer stuff. But eventually, a lot of that kind of text to image, text to video, all these things you're seeing are going to have very, very powerful business applications. I think
yes,
the other last point I'd make actually is the fact that, I talk about it in a software as a service quite a lot in your business. But the point here is that most agents you're seeing are for a particular sector to do a particular thing. Our agents aren't like that. These are expert equivalent of humans. They can go into any business in any sector and have slightly different applications and tweaks to run the business and do things the way you want it to, not the way some software developer in a SaaS company is telling you to.
exactly. It's exciting times ahead.
So that was our kind of run. That was the short version. We could do this for 4 hours talking about our journey of the last 18 months. But it's been really exciting time. This is podcast number 50. We're going to kind of reboot this. We might invite some people on as well. We're always kind of traveling quite a lot. Well, Alok's in Portugal. I'm up in the northwest of the UK at the moment. So we're going to probably reboot this and have some guests on as well every 2 weeks. The AI Insider. If you're not used to our podcast or heard it before, please sign up on the website at implementai.io. Sign up for our newsletter. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on all social media. And look out for the next episode, which will be episode 51. And also, we like feedback. We post quite a lot of content, especially on LinkedIn. So go and have a look at our content, read our articles, read our blogs, and especially go and have a look at the amazing sort of pilots and case studies and demos that Aalok posts, because they'll give you a real insight into the power of this technology. So it's onwards and upwards. We're going to go out and start finishing off our business plan now and start raising finance to scale this business, because this is a really exciting time, a really exciting opportunity for us, but also for anyone in business who wants to get ahead and stay ahead by implementing AI. Anything else to add up to that, Alok?
No, all good. I'll see you next
Great.
week.
Okay. So this is the AI Assisted Organization podcast. We'll see you again in about 2 weeks. See you then.
See you then.